Okay, hopefully this video I don't know if I'm centered. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, people, no matter where you are. Be happy, be strong, be healthy. Today is 8 minutes past 10 a.m. UK time, the 7th of April. It's taken a week for me to assess what is going on with regards to the plandemic, and I'm going to call this video the Plandemic and the COINTEL. Alright? And I suppose I'm going to explain why it will be titled so. It's one of those videos that might be my last. It depends, to do with the coronavirus COVID-19 issue, because there are bigger issues at play. And it is frustrating because in the realm of social media and information gathering and disseminating, I can see there are people putting out disinfo, confusing the issue, just repeating stuff, putting up some good stuff, at the same time muddying the water. And there are a lot of egos on YouTube as well. And as you can see in my second video on the subject, I too got caught up in my emotions about just jumping in too quick and criticising somebody when they actually hadn't said anything wrong, which put me... my ego's not bruised. You know, we're human beings, and human beings will make error from time to time. It's about your consistency and whether you're just too egotistical to want to just believe that you never do anything wrong and it wasn't wrong, and justify whatever you want to justify to continue. What you will know is my channel is not monetized, so there isn't anything here to earn. In fact, I've spent thousands upon thousands just getting a little bit smarter than the average bear, and getting used to the fact that sometimes you can actually read a book, think it was good, and realize that book is bullshit. And you think, I paid for it, I spent the time reading it, and you done me in. You made me pick up this Hansel and Gretel breadcrumb thinking I'm going somewhere, and this is what it is. So first and foremost, anybody listen to me now, I want you to get this into your thick skull. It may not be thick, right? The truth is not color-coded. If you are offended by my color, and you don't think anything out of my mouth can be true or worth investigating, or is a salient message to save your life, because of that, right? Or if it were from somebody this color, and you just think, I can't accept it, jog on, keep it moving. You see, in the trenches, I don't need an idiot. You got to know where your proverbial rifle is facing, okay? I can't tell you who to date, who not to date. I'm not going to tell you what to eat, who to eat. And I'm certainly not going to tell you where to pray and how to pray, and whether you should have a God or not. That is not your primary, it's not your concern anyway. Each to their own soul, each to their own spirit. At the end of the day, every individual is going to die individually. It's all about your understanding of, excuse me, this dimension and the spiritual destination of your young self, and understanding it and taking responsibility. So with that said, as far as the pandemic is concerned, and this is taking it from me, the most consistent and the person with the most consistent and reasonable and best argument, and who collates the information and is used to collating information, and not only just collating information, unlike a lot of these Pan-Africans who go around giving it that, They actually write it down, and that's David Icke. Hats off to the man. He has said a lot of things that he is able to say that pan out to be true. He said something in an interview yesterday on London Live. I think it's called YouTube London Live. And it was one of the most compelling interviews he's done on London Live or anywhere. It was very interesting, and it's to do with this COVID-19, 5G, coronavirus. And he makes the most sense, and because he's been doing it for a long time, I think he's definitely worth listening to. There are a lot of egos out there talking about what they think they know. I've even heard some point it in a direction. You know, there are people say, no, it's China. If you're quick to say China, I don't think you quite get it. In fact, I'm convinced you don't get it. And there's your COINTEL, okay? I think a little bit of explanation about COINTEL is in order. And examples where it actually happens. And why should there be COINTEL? I forget who it was. A Roman, a famous, or maybe a Roman scholar. And it's been said many times, a standing army they can fight, but treason from within is dangerous. And we've all heard of the Trojan horse and the concept. Not only that it was based on a Hellenic fiction, some may say a reality, but the concept is what you can take to be true. Get behind the lines and take them by surprise. Here, it's a gift. No, it's not. You know what I mean? Whoops, that's what comes out. Open it up and there's your poison. So I'm going to go through history. And there's a lot of people, I mean, I'm sorry if you're naive and I'm sorry if you didn't get it. I'm sorry if you've been cultured by the Pan-Africans and you think everything evil is white and everything good is black. If you're coming from that concept, you're more than likely COINTEL or what the John 844s or what I call the Red 29s will call a useful idiot. I try to resist lampooning people on Facebook and social media because at the end of the day, I'm an educator. And if you're an educator, it means you've got some kind of skill set and depth of knowledge. And because there's been polymaths of celebrated history, and I'm of this colour, and we're all supposed to be stupid and 70 points less intelligent than everybody else, I've made an effort to be quite skillful and knowledgeable on various issues. I may last long. And so therefore, if I last long, there's going to be lots of nephews and nieces and nephews and friends, and you're going to want some information in the trying time. And maybe that's my calling, okay? And that's why I've been single for the length of time I have. Just trying to see myself, what my self-worth is. Last week I got some news, and I spent several days in depressive mode. I will do a video about depression, in which several bottles of alcohol, several packets of cigarettes, a host of cussing, questions why. There are times when you just think like you work so hard, you know what you've done is true and it's righteous, and you know that you've got this organisation, but the devil knows his own. And so I've mentioned that I was fighting for my MA, and that two female professors, were trying to con me out of a pass. An easy pass. And I will break that down and show you this is exactly what goes on, right? This is why you won't find many of me in primary schools. You won't find many of me in your secondary schools, and you won't find many like me, definitely, in your lecture halls. Unless you are COINTEL or homosexual. It is what it is. Being a heterosexual male, speaking the truth as I do, and believing in the Creator, you are not welcome. And when everything's fixed against you and you've gone into this understanding of the reality of our lives and the fight of our lives as humanity, it depresses you, because I got on my master's course, it would appear by miracle. At the time, it looked impossible to do. I'm going to do the video on that. So, you know, I don't know why a miracle, apart from the only thing I can bring it back down to. It's happened twice in my life that I can actually say, oh, I can't answer that. I just can't answer that. Yo, I can't answer that. But maybe it's a miracle. And I've got to say, maybe it's a miracle. Because one thing in our lives, it's the most challenging thing in your life is putting your ego aside and surrendering. You have to surrender your destiny, no matter how bad it looks, to God. You have to surrender. You have to be accepting of the situation is out your hands. And if that's what you want, then that's what you want. That's hard to do, right? At both times this happened, I'm going to wow you with the two miracles, or what might just be a set of circumstances. But what appeared to be, so it devastated me, because it is almost as if I was led to be teased and tortured in the manner that I have. So, ego all bruised and stuff, and the usual response questions, a human reaction, was, you know, to piss it up the wall. Okay? It was pretty much to throw your life away. It's one of those things where there was a movie, I can't remember what it's called, and if anybody knows the black and white movie, there's been a couple, but it was Claude Rains and Ingrid Bergman. And for some reason, Claude Rains, he is trying to make his wife go mad, creating sounds, moving stuff, and she's really losing out. And Joseph Cotton, I think, is in the movie. I think it's Joseph Cotton. Yeah, Joseph Cotton. And he saves her because he knows her, speaks to her and stuff like that. And it's a really good. But what I'm trying to say is, when you're living in the world of taste, touch, see, height, in, out, up, down, hot, cold, black, white, you know what I mean? Rain, sun, snow, feelings, and love. And you understand that we've come from a place of understanding all of that science. And that's the Enlightenment period. And what preceded the Enlightenment period was the Reformation. You've got to understand, we know what truth is. Okay? We understand what it is, but some people don't want us to know it. So they come amongst us. They come amongst us and they shout our argument more than we would. They're more passionate than we are. They seem to know every niche and cranny about what we ought to know all about. And then we sit down and listen to them give us the rhetoric about what they've studied in a classroom somewhere at the Tavistock Institute. I don't know where it is. The social engineers will pick somebody, or they'll go begging, these COINTEL. They'll go begging, oh please Mr. Gallagher, help me, I don't know what to do, I've got a baby on the way, got no money, oh please, oh. These are the people that you've probably had in school, big mouth, think they're all that, don't need to study, and then the reality hits them, and the first thing they do, and they're usually the ones that I talk about, is racism and white man this and white man that. The first thing they do is go knocking on the government door, oh please Mr. Whiteman, please help me, oh God. And he says, I've got a job for you. Sign here. And they do. Then it's all fun. They're getting all this information, they're getting pussy and dick in all this conscious, idiotic movements, and it doesn't really matter. I spent time studying the behaviour of people, and I'll tell you why I say behaviour. I will do another video breaking down the importance of the UK to world affairs, the importance of the Reformation, what I call the physical trinity. I swear I'll do it again. At this moment in time, there's some of the most underrated videos ever. And I understand putting out the coronavirus hoax is almost clickbaity. I wasn't just doing it to be clickbaity. It's what I believe to be a hoax, right? It's a government move to take away our freedom. They've not had a great time of it. When I say government, some people call it deep state. I call it the Rev 29ers. We're going to get to the Rev 29ers. This has been going on for a long time. I don't think you understand. And as I've said, if you're out there beating down on Christianity because of what happened in the church or some pastor, and therefore you think you're justified in repeating nonsense, repeating things you've heard, that you think is a gotcha argument about why Christianity isn't good. I've said it before, I'll say it again. I'm not a Christian. But I'll defend it. And I'll fight for it. And die for it. Doesn't have to be perfect. An arrow pointing to where your house is not given a postcode, or what they call a zip code. But it's pointing you in the right direction. Okay? That's what the Bible needs to do. That's all I need to do for you. You've got to do the work. And if you don't work, can I hear you? You don't get paid. And that doesn't mean that. It can do. But if that's what you thought straight away, it just goes to show the misunderstanding of the Bible. And as for the Muslims, at Hyde Park, they don't get it. But it is easy to I shouldn't laugh. It's easy to get them and beat them. I don't care who they are. I've heard of them. The Mansfields, a lot. They don't understand. That doesn't mean they're not brothers in faith. Brothers argue, but it shouldn't be based on hate. And there's a load of COINTEL over at Hyde Park anyway. So the Plandemic and COINTEL. Now, a lot of people don't understand. I'm going to do a video, and I've got my bumper music and everything. I just need to get it edited together. And for some reason, I've forgotten how to do the bloody editing. I'm going to jump around. I'm going to do what my lecturer says. You jump around. I'm going to jump around. The reason why I'm going to jump around because I want to produce a documentary about COINTEL. How easy it is to find them, see it, and learn to discern from it. So that you're not misled. Or you're not used as a useful idiot. But anyone can be COINTEL. You don't have just got to be look. What does COINTEL look like? Oh, I so want to do the video. So. But I've been having to do a lot of stuff behind the scenes. It's got nothing to do with these videos. Being devastated in the manner that was being devastated about the MA. Well, if anybody knows, you've got to go through a procedure. If you are querying your academic marks, there is a process that has to go through. So in order to do that, most students don't do it because most students are lazy. And universities are full of females that just want to get brownie points, have a dick, get patted and tell mummy, I know I was acting like a hoe, but look, I passed, and that's it. Very few are skilled at looking and solving problems. That's where men come in. We can solve problems. This is what they don't want, right? So the whole university, 80%, I've told you this already, 80% of UK universities are left-wing, ergo neo-Marxist, ergo social constructivist, ergo emotions over facts. Come with facts and you don't get a look in, right? And I don't think we're post-facts yet. So I fight for it. I fight for truth. And I wouldn't be in that university if it wasn't for what I think might have been a miracle. So I fight. And so it's easier to know that you're right, if you know you're right, to then look at the protocols and the rule book, student rule book, and where to look to find out on what grounds you can argue your case and have it investigated by their internal student complaints department. I did all that. And of course, they keep fucking around. Acting like they don't hear. I haven't quoted the rules. And I've quoted what they wrote that they have to abide by. Ultimately, I went to the vice provost and I explained, pretty simple. And at the same time, because at every level I've done something right, the people who are professional PhDs, I've just got a bachelor's. I haven't got my master's yet, but they've got PhDs and they're professional. They're paid for their job, being paid for their job. But me, the student, has to quote the rules to them, and they're acting like, well, what rules? I can't see. I didn't see the rules. Oh, I didn't understand that. That's not what it says. And I'm like, you fucking get paid. How did you get the job? Right? I'm just a BA. And you're stopping me. Why is it because of that? Yeah. Oh, when they were drafting rappers, tough luck you didn't get in. When they was drafting football players, that short time, tough luck you didn't get in. If it was athlete, tough luck you didn't get in. But you're fucking not going to get into this department, and that teaching department. Ain't for you, okay? So, I fight because of injustice. I fight because the truth is there for all of us. I fight because it's my duty and it's the only thing. It's either that or kill yourself, right? And I nearly did. Indirectly, just poisoning myself with alcohol, dreaming the days away, hoping it will go away, hoping that tomorrow, on a different issue, I'll hear good news. It doesn't. And so I question the very creation that I surrendered to, and here I was, and now look at me. So I was very annoyed about it. So not to move too far away from the point. So the vice provost wrote to me, and there's a key part of student complaints, and it's about you cannot challenge an academic decision, which means, the way it's written, if you got a bad mark by a lecturer, you can't challenge that decision. Because most students are just upset because, you know, mummy and daddy's paid for it. They weren't studying hard enough. It's trivia. Quite a lot of them probably do this. We've been through it all the time. 99% maybe that was the case. But they've got it down that you can't challenge an academic decision. That may have been good when they were giving you free money to go to university. Giving you free. You don't pay it back. But the minute you consumerized education, i.e. a student now has to go in debt and then pay back, then you're now selling something. The same rules can't apply, right? Cannot apply because we've got people dominating education, and they're not giving you an education, they're indoctrinating you with left-wing ideologies that don't make any sense and are not true factually. And they don't like facts. So if, for instance, you come with an historical fact, as I have done, and contextualize it with our lives and how it makes sense, all they have to do is say, that's not the answer. That's not the answer. You get an E, you get a D, you get a fail. And I go to say, well, I'm complaining. They say, well, hang on a minute. You can't challenge an academic decision. Do you see how easy it is for lecturers to bully somebody? Well, on my university, I use their words. And they put in a caveat. And that caveat was, you can't challenge an academic decision if it was properly blah, 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 blah. Say no more. The minute they said properly, it's the same as saying unless. You can't challenge me unless. Right? So I knew I had them. Right? Just reading text. Good thing I did do some work behind my brother-in-law, barrister. Oh, not barrister, what is he? He owns a practice. Because you have to read text and get understanding. So I realised this university, as prestigious as it is, has written a key. Now they've not altered it because one, it's recent, fairly recent that students now have to pay back the money. So they haven't updated. Secondly, most students aren't going to challenge, okay? Third, most students come out are more left-wing, so they accept what they're being told. They don't know that they're being told a lie and that the truth is being held back, okay? So I've done my job, and the vice provost comes back and says blah, blah, blah. Pretty much, I'm not going to listen to all the evidence you got. And guess why? He says because I've misinterpreted the term, you can't challenge an academic judgment. And then he waffles something, and then he took, to justify the university's ruling, he just reinterpreted it. Fine, you could. I interpret the words, you interpret the words. He's forgotten there's another clause in which he's cited, which overrides what he's talking about. But be that as it may, right? Because this is all to do with teaching. Properly and teaching. And the previous clause was about teaching. He accepted that. So the context about properly is to do with teaching, right? He's forgotten. He's approved this. He took the case on by the bullet point statutes where I had grounds. And he said, yeah, I will see it then. At the same time, when he sees what it is, he's taken the text away from the initial grounds to do with faulty teaching, if you will, and he wants to reinterpret it. Well, I've interpreted it correctly, and I've cited it correctly. He's reinterpreted it, and then he's gone to an organisation. For instance, and in this case now, the way it is, if your university and your vice provost still say, no, you're wrong, there is what they call the Office of Independent Adjudication, and you'll send it to them, and then they will rule. But they have their own text about you cannot challenge an academic decision. I don't care about them, because although you've got the name independent, I know you're not independent. You're just the last stop to slap a university student down and side with the big money interests. Universities make billions of pounds, right? So you pay the directors. I've done it. I've studied them. You'll find the directors are on other boards. They just run around. You know what I mean? It's a sham, right? But he cites, the vice provost says, you misinterpreted what an academic judgment means and what we're saying. Then he goes and cites the OIA's interpretation of what it means. Now, I can understand and go with the OIA's interpretation because that's their interpretation of an academic judgment. But you didn't cite the OIA and say, in accordance with the OIA, an academic judgment, you didn't quote anything to do with the OIA. It was your own. It was your own. Nothing to do with the OIA. You can't call after the fact, say, oh, we're getting it from here. These are the rules. Then it should have been said. It wasn't the rules. So, depression comes when you think, that's the truth. You know the truth. Yet today, people, my God, still faced with the truth. But when I speak of it, it's to be lied on, it's to be denied on, it's to be undermined, it's to be ignored, it's to be overruled, it's to be objected to. And the worst thing about it, I can assess this. It's not just an institution that's done it. It's, you know what I mean? I've got my own experiences, and it ain't a pretty one, but it is what it is. And I had my pity party last week, right? It just means I've got to do some more work and wait for the inevitable bullshit that they don't want to rule in my favour. And I have no money to get a lawyer, and my story will never be told. It will just be another one. And anything I speak on this probably is not clickbait, so you're not going to listen to it anyway. So I'm just going to crack on. So we're talking about COINTEL. Well, I'm talking about COINTEL. I do believe I'm going to get a call. That's going to interrupt this, but nevertheless, I won't tarry. And I have to speed through because I don't know how long that was. And, it takes about 24 hours to upload this video, right? I've got slow collections. So, I've been saying those who keep beating down on Christianity, you're COINTEL or a useful idiot. And I'll tell you why. I began to distance myself from Christianity because of what's going on. And the fact that this is a Christian country, yet Christians won't stand up for it. And all I see are Rev 2-9ers who have no right to be in in England. They're banned forever in England. But they're in all parts of government and association and shouting the odds. And it's going against us.